You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. There's something in the air, a dream of life in love, with minds at rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time will somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the hearts revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. This is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, from close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic happens, feeling all the hearts ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever, the secret is whenever, the secret is together we are.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living's Sunday service in St. George, Utah. We're really glad you're with us today. We're an open, loving, and supportive community, and we support living creatively and leading a deeply spiritual life. So you think we'll fit right in with us here. So welcome again. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence and to awaken our community to its divine nature and a greatest expression of who we are. So you can be yourself around us. It's a safe place to be. So this is our lineup for today. We have our technical producer, Chris McCardle, in the backstage there, keeping everybody straight. My name is Alan Stanley. I'll be your host, and I'll also sing a couple songs today. Invocation will be offered by Star Sterrett, and we love to welcome Natalie Honeycutt. Will be offering our reading, and of course, our own senior minister, Reverend Joe Kovach, will be providing our message. So I'd like to sing a song to start out about love a little bit. This was written by Michael Gott, and you're welcome to sing right along with it. About halfway through it, we'll take a break, and Star will offer our invocation. Then we'll come back and sing a little bit more. So. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that comforts me. There is only love. When I lose myself, when I feel I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love.
Thank you, Alan. Right here, right now, I ask that you join me in this prayer for the beginning of this session, knowing that there is only one mind. That mind is beautiful. That mind is my mind now. And because I know this for certainty, I know this for each and every one of us, that right here, right now, the peace does flow internally as a song. And I gather to that song this knowing that this peace exists in the one heart, which is the heart that I see when I look out in the world that I see. Because I know that it is the eternal internal song within my own being. I can let that out and see that in the world. And I am grateful. I am grateful for this message that is coming through today for each and every one of us. And so I let it go. I let it go into the divine because it is already done, as I ask you all now to affirm with me. Thank you. It is done. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Star. And I know this voice of love, it is singing through my life. It is all I am, every part of me. It is all I choose to be. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets me free. There is only love. Now I'd like to welcome Natalie Honeycutt this morning. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning, Alan. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Today I've selected a reading from The Science of Mind, page 392 by Ernest Holmes. In universal mind is contained the essence of everything that ever was, is, or shall be. The seen and the unseen are in it and governed by it. It is the sole and only creative agency in the universe, and all other apparent creative agencies are it, working in different ways. Things exist in the universal mind as ideas. Ideas take form and become things in the concrete or the visible world. Thought calls things forth from the universal into expression. The correct understanding that mind, in its unformed state, can be called forth into individual use is the key to all proper mental and spiritual work from a practical viewpoint. To know that we are surrounded by such a creativeness is not enough. However, we must use this knowledge for definite purposes if we expect to make conscious use of the law for personal self-expression. In this limitless medium, the potential of all our desires exists in an unformed state. The unformed is ready to take form, but having no intention of its own, because it is not self-knowing, form must be imposed upon it. Form is imposed upon it by the self-knowing mind of God and of man. Man in the little world, God in the great world. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Natalie. That's great. So here's a little tune I made up a couple years ago. I kind of like to start the years off with it because we really don't know what's going to happen, but we're ready for it, and we got the faith to jump right in. So please join along. A lot of you probably know it. There's a path that we know many people take, seeking truth and some things unexplained. Setting out on a road that is mostly unknown, sometimes can cause trouble and pain. We set out instead, not knowing what's ahead, and wondering what lies around the bend. In faith we know that wherever we go, life's eternal and this road has no end. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our names. Honor the mystery, embrace embrace the change. Now we come together and move along, creating heaven right here at home. We honor the old ways and bless the new. Open arms and welcome you. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our names. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Deep inside, we all know if we only let go and let God lead, there's nothing to fear. The slower we go, the sooner we'll know, and everything will become clear. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our names. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Only one thing remains the same. That's Holy Spirit calling our names. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Honor the mystery, embrace the change. Whew, let's do that, yeah. So our global theme for this year is living out loud. That's pretty easy for me sometimes. January subject is root and reboot. And today's talk subject is the internal song. So I'd like to welcome our senior minister, Reverend Joe Kovach, and we'll listen to the message about this subject today. Good morning, Reverend Joe.
Good morning, Alan. Thank you. That was a great song. It really pumped me up. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning. I'm going to preface this with, if my camera turns purplish, it's just what it is. We're having a little bit of technical issues on my end, so let's see what happens. I might turn lavender. Stay in that, what is it? Honor the mystery, right? Embrace the change. So good morning, and I want to also start out with a big thank you to everyone who showed up yesterday at our visioning. There was, I believe, 25 or more community members that came out, and we began the process of envisioning what our new center looks like, feels like, and it's a really overall a simple process. And I'm just so grateful for everybody who, again, came out and lent their consciousness. And it's so good to see some new people. I asked new people to show up, and they did. So it was so good to see some new friendly faces, and I know there's more of you out there. So next meeting we'll be announcing soon, so I hope to see you then. All right. So this week's topic is the internal song. Last week it was the universal voice. Now that voice is singing an internal song. And as Alan said, root and reboot, in January, we kind of go back over some basics. And so we're going to start out with a basic, and it comes from Living the Science of Mind. So that's a different book, by the way, than when we usually say Science of Mind. That's the textbook. That's the main book. And then Ernest Holmes wrote a more practical book called Living the Science of Mind. And this quote comes from that. It says, "The power to live is within the self, implanted by the divine. Ultimately, every man and woman will realize their inner kingdom, which will become to them as the tree of life, providing food and shelter, perfection and joy." So what a great way to just kind of open today's talk, and remembering that it's all right here. Now, I know I say that, and I also know that as living this human life, there are many times that we don't feel that. So we're going to get into that as well today and discuss that. And so recognizing in New Thought, which religious science is a part of, we focus on our thoughts. And the thoughts that we think tend to be a collection of not only our personal experiences, but also the thoughts of what we call the collective unconsciousness, the world itself. All those thoughts are out there because they're energy. And by who we are, we can pull them in. And in the literary world, they talk of something called a canon, canon, and which is kind of like a standard. And I bring that word up because it's kind of one of those things that we learn and we repeat. And it's, in other words, it's a standard. We just kind of go with it. And I'll give some examples in a minute. But sometimes we do this unaware, and we do it by default. And so a typical or type of canon might be something like, war is inevitable, or the poor are always going to be with us. There's nothing we can do. Or you have to work hard to enjoy and reap a reward. Or life is a competition. And then there's good old Murphy's Law, right? If something can go wrong, it will. And now, while those are canons, we have to pause and ask ourselves, is that really what we want to be manifesting? How is that manifesting in my life? So we need to unpack and identify these thoughts, and then simply choose, and I say simple, it's not always simple, but simply choose to listen for the truth within those, right? It's within that internal song, always playing. In every thought and every program, it only has one truth, and that is the living Spirit Almighty, that which we call God's Spirit or Source. And this is the gift, I believe, that religious science offers us. It's the greatest gift. And that is how we form the way that we choose to pray, which is spiritual mind treatment, also known as affirmative prayer. And we'll touch on that, but of course, there's a literally entire course on that one. So let us begin by knowing first the truth of who we are. If there is no separation from that which God is and that which I am, then we are one, and everything is one. And yes, I know it doesn't appear that way. It doesn't appear that way. But we now know, especially in our modern times, that science proves this. And as we kind of slowly become aware of a greater truth in our lives, and it's never ending, that internal song plays infinitely, that we begin to recognize in and through, I'll say, the eyes of spirit, that there is only growth, there is only good happening, and there is only an ever-expanding experience of dancing with this internal song. And again, it's forever ongoing. And when we recognize anything that doesn't feel like a part of that song, it simply means that we're not aligned with the highest truth. We're not aligned with it. And that's okay. Everything can be eventually, I believe, brought to that truth through what we call the good and the so-so and even the struggles, all of it. Because there's only one life being lived. So everything in essence is connected to and is the source expressing. And when we choose to release, what we really do is unify and with this power, this presence, this essence in its full expression. And again, that's that's what we do as we go through the steps of our prayer. And so there's a few points I just want to make, I want to make today. And then I also want to honor the fact that today is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, his actual birthday. He'll be turning 94 today. And I have something to share that I found, which is amazing. So I'm excited. Here we go. So again, going back to this idea of watching our thoughts. I often call them old tapes, old programmings, recording that are just kind of running through our minds. And again, often you hear me use this term a lot, they're running on default. Why? Because we didn't always know what we know. And so we just look at certain things and go, oh, okay, that's right. Just like I mentioned a canon. Oh, everybody says it, so it must be true. It's on the news, so it must be true. It's in a book, so it must be true. And it may be true for that individual, but is it true for you? And is it what's best for you? And so these programs often are outdated. And I can share many examples of times when I all of a sudden had that kind of aha moment. right? And I went, oh, why do I do that? Why do I say that? And depending on how often, how many years that program has run, it may take a little bit of time to replace that. So, we hear these voices, we hear these sharings of other people from the world. It could be the voice of a parent or a teacher who at one point was trying their best to guide us or motivate us. But maybe it was, I'm sure they were doing their best and highest good, but it might not have come through very positively to us. And it affects us. And later on, if we're not aware enough, that voice, it's on a program, continues to play, is expressed through us, and we're not really even aware of it. And we say, oh, I'm struggling and I don't know why. And this is the gift of our philosophy, is we look within ourselves to discover that power. And it's great when things are going well. And it's hard to look in the mirror when things aren't. And when all of a sudden you got to come to grips with, oh, it's me. I'm the one running the programs, which at first we can really get stuck for a while beating ourselves up. But the freedom also lies right there within, when we can go, wait a minute, if I'm the one that created it, then I'm the one that can change it. And so these old programs will keep playing. They'll play programs of lack, of limitation, of separation, of disempowerment. And we feel this. And sooner or later, like I said, each one, I do believe, every person will have that aha moment. Or at least I will say have the opportunity to go, oh, wait a minute. And then they tap in to that internal song. They hear it. They feel it, that there's a better, a freer, fuller, more expanded life just waiting for them. And that they have a natural divine power that is who they are. It's not something you have to be, quote unquote, good for or take so many classes for or anything like that. It's right here, right now. I liken it to, I like the example of the fact they talk about electricity. It was always here before we discovered it. It was there. We were unaware of it. And now because of it, we're able to live more comfortably and do many things with it. And what we call technology are simply God's ideas being revealed as we open to them. And so another quote from Living the Science of Mind, and a principle really, shares from Ernest Holmes. He says, we believe that the kingdom of heaven is within man, of course, and woman, and that we experience this kingdom to the degree that we become conscious of it. That's the way he puts what I just explained about electricity. But it's about not just things, it's about the source of all things, is who we are. So that idea of kingdom of heaven, we don't believe in our philosophy that heaven's out there or over there, anything like that. We believe that it's right here. And we know it by the way we feel. And so when we're just tapped in and in that flow, and you're recognizing all truly is well, even if it's in that moment that you look around and everything's perfect. So that is what we understand as the kingdom of God, that everything is God and divine and everyone's worth it. There's no one who's not. I'm recognizing that I'm really zoomed in today. Interesting. You can't see my hands. So I'm waving them around. I'm Italian, folks. So underneath the flow here, my hands are going. So that's important. So we can think and believe that we are impoverished. We can believe in limitations in our lives, or we can also believe in possibilities. We can know for ourselves that there's only abundance, that my life is prosperous, that as I open my individual connection with God mind, our imagination taps into a bigger and bigger idea. And when we believe in these different things that separate us, like illness, like disease, we expand that experience in our lives. So if we're sick and I go, what can I do? Right? It's almost we're doers in Western society. We want to do something. And so if I just simply don't believe in the power of thought, I'm going to struggle a little bit. But if I recognize simply that, okay, well, there's a vibration within my energy that's off. I'm feeling dis-ease. Well, I know that the natural order of everything is ease and grace, simplicity. And so I can tap into that. Now, it's not going to be instantaneous. Okay? We're not at that conscious point yet, but I do believe it's possible. And so what can we do with these negative thoughts? What Ernest Holmes says quite simply, that we erase thought from consciousness by pouring in an opposite thought. So truly, with the law of attraction, when I know what I don't like, okay, all I have to do then, and again, I use simplistic words, all I have to do. What we can do to empower ourselves is to discover and look at what is it that I really want instead. Sometimes it's obvious. Okay, I'm sick, I want health. Then the next work is to practice thinking and feeling thoughts of wellness, of wholeness, of perfection. And as easy as that sounds, it's difficult sometimes to hold that thought, to go, oh yes, I am feeling my best, when you just want to curl up in bed for another 4 or 5 hours or the whole day, or you have a pounding headache, or your nose is running and all that. So, I'd say it's a simple idea to change your thought. And we know the truth of that. It can be, and sometimes it won't be. And so we talk about this idea of changing thought. And another way, the second point of looking at this internal song that is always playing, is to grab a bigger idea. And now, those ideas in science of mind, religious science, we call ideas mental equivalents. Very scientific term, right? Mental equivalent, equal to. And so what we simply know about mental equivalence is we can only receive what we're open to. So that simplifies the idea of mental. So if I have a thought of what I'm worth, and I believe that, well, for all these reasons above, my job, my age, where I live, I should only be making X amount of dollars per year, let's say that. Then that's my limitation. Now, that's what I'm going to experience because that's what I'm holding on to as a belief. But there is unlimitedness, unlimited possibilities, unlimited creativity in this divine source. So can I open myself to a greater mental equivalent, a greater idea in the mind of God? And there must exist one. And so here's the kind of work is that we kind of grasp, okay, I'm going to make 3 times more. And at first we don't believe it. And the goal is then, so I have this belief and it's not there yet. And then this is where I'm at. And we feel the gap. But that gap doesn't make it any less true that is an idea in the mind of God. And we must open ourselves, okay, by what we always talk about, prayer, meditation, doing that internal contemplation about what may be limiting my seeing my own value. The way Ernest Holmes shares it in the regular textbook, he says this. He says, the limit of our ability to demonstrate, meaning to have things show up and co-create, depends on our ability to provide a mental equivalent of our desires. For the law of correspondence works from the belief to the things. I'm going to stop right there. A couple terms. Okay, so demonstrate, meaning actually have this thing show up in our lives. For me to go from dis-ease to ease, from illness to wellness, from limited value to an unlimited value. And what it says is the law of correspondence is kind of like the law of attraction. It's, in other words, what I give out, this is what I believe. Well, life says this is what you get back then, exactly what you believe. He goes on to say, but it is within our power to provide a greater mental equivalent through the unfolding of consciousness, our thoughts, our beliefs. And this growth from within will finally lead to freedom. Freedom in the recognition that we can tap into anything we want to feel, express, have, hold, experience is available to, and it's going to come through us. So if we can't hold a divine thought of prosperity, then we will probably never experience the prosperity to the level that we want to. And I'm not talking about it's all about money, because money does not equal happiness. It equals comfort. Okay. So, and that is still even determined by every one of us. Some people need more. Some people are very happy with little and simplifying their life, and that's all good. But are we feeling prosperous? Are we feeling free no matter where we're at? And so this is what then we kind of go into. This is talking about and praying about this new idea. And when we talk and pray, I want to again maintain and make a point that as good as the words need to be, we have to feel it. Okay? And so that's why we practice this. It's not like a one and done. When I'm trying to change something within my life, I write it down, I look at it, I review it. And yes, in the beginning, I read it. And I'm just reading words. I am prosperous. I am this. I am that. I am experiencing. I am feeling, etc. But as I practice it, and my mind begins to reprogram itself, or as Holmes said, the best way to replace a thought is to enter a new one. And a higher, meaning better feeling thought, is more powerful than a lower one. And so the more I practice feeling good with any words that make me feel good, okay, it's going to be different for everyone. And what that does is then leads to the expansion of our experience, a greater feeling of freedom, of living a fuller, liking the word, more well-lived life. And it's open for everyone. There are no limitations. And again, that's the other thing I really align with our teaching is there are differences that we may see with the human mind to a point. Now, seeing differences is not wrong or bad. It's judging from those differences that kind of limits and separates who we are. If I put myself above anybody, then I'm not seeing everyone as whole, perfect, and complete. If I could see an experience and see that as an experience, and I get to choose and realize that I choose how I respond to it, and choose in essence of whether it affects me or not, because nothing can affect me unless I allow it to. And so we go back to this mental equivalent. Think about for a moment, what is our thought when I say the word or the question, what is God? Right? There's going to be a whole bunch of terms and experiences, and all that, honestly, is in the past. And unfortunately, we don't know how to let go of the past too well and to be open to a new idea. God is a word. Spirit is a word. Source is a word. And it all tries to define the infinite, which is impossible, but we're doing the best that we can. We have language, and so if my thoughts are tied up in a word from the past, I can choose to just release the word and replace that, or I can choose to replace the meaning that I have given that word with something new and better, thus expanding my mental equivalent, the idea that I'm holding as true for me. And believing in something that hasn't happened yet, and we're preaching and praying for, is faith. And another declaration from Holmes says this. He says, faith is a certain definite mental attitude. Faith is an affirmative way of using this law, this energy, this force. So the law is the action part of God. That law of correspondence is one of them. The law of attraction, very similar. But it's a mental attitude, meaning my thoughts, my feelings, my actions are all aligned in truth, in knowing that it must happen. Why? Because it is law. The law of gravity, for example, it's universal. It doesn't care how big you are, small you are, what your gender is, what your religion is, where you were born. If you jump off a building, depending on your weight, we can calculate very closely how long it's going to take for you to hit the ground if you don't have means otherwise. That's a universal law. Well, so is the universal law of thought. And this is what we're learning and our philosophy is about. So I mentioned, moving into this third part, about spiritual mind treatment. Again, it's also known as affirmative prayer. And there are steps to it, which I'm not going to go over today. We will be beginning our educational series. That'll be a part of it, so you can tap in. But you can also go online and look up affirmative prayer or science of mind prayer. That's fine. It's there. It's on the main website. And when we do this, when we take time out of our day to pray, we realize that we're basically countering and creating. We're countering the thoughts and the things that we're not wanting to experience anymore. And it also helps to silence those voices that we know are not helping us. And it replaces that old programming with new affirming, saying yes to, positively affirming thoughts and beliefs. So we're literally reprogramming what we're thinking and what we know. What we think about most shows up in our lives. And so again, going back, it's all kind of connected. I need to kind of, in a sense, to work at looking at my thoughts and then know what is it that I want, and then pray and practice on it. It's like weightlifting. You have to continue it or you lose it. But at the same time, if I start with nothing, I can't do it once and expect the body that I most want. When doing this, recognize it's important to know that we're never alone, and that everyone is facing some type of a challenge in some way. If it's not you personally within, it's a family member that we have a relationship. It's a loved one. It's a work. It's just something that we're struggling with. And we don't have to feel shame or guilt. It's a universal experience that we're having here. This internal song is the same song for everybody, of love, of peace, of unity, of wholeness, of perfection. And it's easy to say these words, but here's the thing that I find: the more I say them, the more I recognize them showing up in my life. Right? It's kind of like we borrowed my mom's car not too long ago, and it's an old PT Cruiser, and we're like, the family, my wife and kids were like, we've never, we don't see these cars around Las Vegas much at all. And of course, once we started driving one for a couple of weeks, all of a sudden they seem to be everywhere in multiple colors and everything. And that's a simple example, but a powerful one, because if that's just, I'm not trying to change my thought belief by driving a car, but, oh, wait, I changed something. I'm focusing on it every day. I'm now driving this. Well, why can't I just say I am now experiencing the full power of my health and wellness each and every day? I'm just replacing what I'm putting in front of my mind. And we know that it must show up. Now, that being said, with prayer, if you struggle, community members, this is why we have our prayer team. And we have the prayer email that you can say, hey, you know what? This is what I'm going through, and I don't even know what to ask for. That's okay too. Okay? We know that if you're going through some health issues, that we're going to see you as perfect, whole, and complete, and that there is only one source, and it is a source of wellness. We know that. That's what we're trained to do. And so please use that. It's not used anywhere near enough. And I know that everybody's going through something. And it doesn't have to be these big grandiose things like a divorce or a complete life-changing thing. In essence, everything's life-changing. So even if you're going through a bout of a flu or you have a broken finger, I don't know. And there is no big and small in the universe. We're here to support you. Checking my time. Perfect. So kind of coming to a conclusion here. My first thing I want to say is be bold. The new yearly theme is living out loud, in a sense, unapologetically. Now that doesn't mean if we hurt somebody and we know we did, we can't offer an apology. But I mean just being authentic. Authentic, because when we're authentic, we wouldn't want to hurt somebody. Okay. Now, when we're looking at our thoughts and we discover one that I can improve on, we need to state clearly and with conviction right? Starting with recognizing that there is only one life. And this is your life right here, right now. That's actually step one in affirmative prayer. We lock in the low that there's only one thing going on, and I am not less than that. I am that. And then do what feels comfortable to step into that new life with confidence and knowing that you're surrounded by and must be everything that you need. We may say, oh, I don't see it. Well, just like the other PT cruisers, I didn't see any of those until I put it in front of my mind. And so as we begin to put new ideas, new mental equivalents in front of our face, then this is important to us. This is something meaningful. Now, at the same time, we got to pay attention to what we're putting in our mind and in front of our face. If it's not really healthy, we need to remove that with something better. And remember that Ernest Holmes told us that conscious, trained mind, or thought, is more powerful than unconscious, untrained thought. So in other words, the more we work on training our mind, yes, choosing the power of choice, what we're going to focus on, that's when things get going and things change. And not just small things, but big things. When I say big things, I know there's no small or big. What I mean is global things. And I found this quote from Ernest Holmes. He says this about kind of big thing, this idea of war. He says, war will cease not when God decides this for us, but when enough people know that it is no longer desirable and steadfastly maintain their position. From communion with spirit, all men and women will come to perceive the deeper reality, the broader sharing in human experience. So we're not waiting, in a sense. Other religions wait for a savior. The savior is right here, right now. It's the power of your thought. All that any prophet ever went through is available to us. And yes, there is some work to do to get there. But just like anything, if I want to all of a sudden be a star tight end on a football team, I can think it, but there's a doing part too as well. A lot of it's belief. Well, in the end, it's all belief. What are we going to let in? Also, I want to share in closing that even though you say, I'm living a good life, what could I want? Look, this world is infinite. You can experience all the good that you can handle and more. And why not have more than you need? Because what I know is that's not greed, because then you get to give from your overflow. If you have so much that you don't need it, then what a gift to be able to give back to people who don't have what you have yet. It's a mindset. And to know that personally, the world needs whatever it is that you individually are. And in your full expression, because I know that that's what Spirit uses to bless yourself and others. So why be ashamed of any one part? Just, this is who I am right now. Okay? This is who I am right now, and I'm open to more. And I know that things will change. And so no matter where you're at, there is a greater level of experiencing the freedom and the fullness of life. All right, I want to make sure I can fit all this in. Okay, I'm going to go for it. So I'm going to share a story with you about mental attitude. It goes like this. In the Middle Ages, a citizen was arrested by one of the barons and shut up in a dungeon in the baron's castle. The citizen was taken downstairs, and they went down, down, down by a very ferocious-looking jailer who carried a great key, a foot long. The door of the cell was open when they arrived, and the citizen was thrust into a dark hole. The door shut with a bang, and there he was. He lay in this dark dungeon for 20 years. Each day, the jailer came, opened a big door with a great creaking and groaning, thrust a pitcher of water and loaf of bread in, and closed the door again. After 20 years, the prisoner decided he was not going to take it any longer. He wanted to die, but he did not want to commit suicide. So he decided that when the jailer came the next day, he would attack him. The jailer would then kill him in self-defense, and thus his misery would end. He decided to examine the door carefully so as to be ready for the following day. Going over to the door, he caught the handle and turned it. To his amazement, the door opened. Upon investigation, he found that there was no lock on it, and there never had been. For 20 years, he had not been locked in, except in belief. All right? That's a great story to realize. If we're experiencing any limitedness in our lives, I want you to know that it can change. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It's just about, as Jesus shared, having faith the size of a mustard seed, which is minuscule. Begin with that. Begin with what you have and where you're at. Right now, that's enough, because you are here and you are connected, whether you know it or not. And if you need help with that, please reach out to our prayer team and pray. A final quote is this, and it's Joan, and I can't remember, try to say her name, sister, but she's a Benedictine, American Benedictine monk. It's a little bit long, so I'm just going to read it. It says, "The weakness in religious life that rides on rules and regulations, definitions and doctrines is that it knows only as much of God as authority defines for it. People who only rely on predigested answers know the rituals and canons of the faith, perhaps, but they may know far too little of the God who dwells within them. They look outside for themselves for answers to the spiritual life and bind God to bargains that God never made. They miss the God who is everywhere." Great. I'm sure those of you that are watching are going to pause right now and write that one down. It's a good one. So, in summary of our talk today, this internal song that is playing for everyone. First, consciously awaken, okay, and become self-aware. Why? Because awareness is the key to change. I cannot change something that I'm not aware of. First step. Then, once we become a little more self-aware, we need to investigate our mental equivalents. And maybe begin with the idea, can we hold and are we open to a bigger idea of fill in the blank? Health, wealth, prosperity, relationships, wellness, etc. And thirdly, once we do that, our choice then, our power goes into aligning with the divine internal song through prayer, meditation, and imagining. Use that power of the imagination, because that's like the what's I'm looking for, chalkboard, of life, of the universe that you just draw in it. Just everything is there. Everything is possible. And so there's your 3 steps, and sums that up. I can't remember if I did. Yes, I did. We do have an affirmation today, and we're going to do that. And then I'm going to share something from Martin Luther King Jr. So again, words are important. But what is the energy and the emphasis coming through? Let's tap into that. Today, my life harmonizes with the song of one. All right. So again, I want to end this with, again, I know tomorrow is Martin Luther's, the holiday observed, but today is his actual birthday. Again, he would be 94. He was born in 1929. And this is an excerpt from a speech, and it's called "I Have Decided to Stick with Love." So just sit back and receive. This is Martin Luther King Jr. speaking. He says, "I'm concerned about a better world. Yes. I'm concerned about justice. I'm concerned about brotherhood and sisterhood. I'm concerned about truth. And when one is concerned about that, he can never advocate violence. For through violence, you may murder a murderer, but you can't murder murder. Through violence, you may murder a liar, but you can't establish truth. Through violence, you may murder a hater, but you can't murder hate through violence. Darkness cannot put out darkness. Only light can do that. And I say to you, I have also decided to stick with love, for I know that love is ultimately the only answer to humankind's problems. and I'm going to talk about it everywhere I go. I know it isn't popular to talk about it in some circles today, and I'm not talking about emotional bosh when I talk about love. I'm talking about a strong, demanding love, where I have seen too much hate, and I say to myself that hate is too great a burden to bear. I have decided to love. If you are seeking the highest good, I think you can find it through love. And the beautiful thing is that we aren't moving wrong when we do it, because John was right. God is love. He who hates does not know God, but he who loves has the key that unlocks the door to the meaning of ultimate reality. And so I say to you today, my friends, that you may be able to speak with tongues of men and angels. You may have the eloquence of articulate speech, but if you have not love, it means nothing. Yes, you may have the gift of prophecy. You may have the gift of scientific prediction and understand the behavior of molecules. You may break into the storehouse of nature and bring forth many new insights. Yes, you may ascend to the heights of academic achievement so that you have all knowledge, and you may boast of your great institutions of learning and the boundless extent of your degrees. But if you have not love, all of these mean absolutely nothing. You may even give your goods to feed the poor. You may bestow great gifts to charity, and you may tower high in philanthropy. But if you have not love, your charity means nothing. You may even give your body to be burned and die the death of a martyr, and your spilt blood may be a symbol of honor for generations yet unborn, and thousands may praise you as one of history's greatest heroes. But if you have not love, your blood was spilt in vain. What I'm trying to get you to see this morning is that a man may be self-centered in his self-denial and self-righteous, in his self-sacrifice. His generosity may feed his ego, and his piety may feed his pride. So without love, benevolence becomes egotism, and martyrdom becomes spiritual pride. So moving into prayer, what I do know that for each one here is that God is love, and they are that. Each one hearing my voice now, knowing that there is no separation, there is wholeness, there is oneness, there is unity, and that we are each now open to a greater mental equivalent of what love is and who we are. We are channels of that divine love. We are beings created to love, to express love, to receive love. And so I declare that that is what is happening right here and now for its highest and truest good, not only for St. George, but for this entire planet. That the energy, the vibration of unconditional love is all there is. And that is the choice, the source of all choices. That is the source of all wellness. That is what is happening to and through every activity, whether in mind or in manifestation. I call it good and very good. We are so grateful for those, the prophets and the great teachers and the way showers that have helped to offer us new ideas to contemplate, to get to know truth in a more personal way. And so I let this be with ease and with grace, and just knowing that it's always happening in perfect divine timing and in the perfect divine way. And we affirm this by saying, and so it is. Goodness.
And so it is. Thank you,
Thank you,
Reverend Joe. Thank you so much for your message and for sharing Dr. King's message with us today. That's great. And we'll be seeing you, I'm sure, here at the top of the hour and talk a little bit more.
For some time. And then I do make sure everybody knows, I know you're going to announce it, but Reverend Patrick Carbula will be speaking next week as a guest speaker. And I know him personally very well. He's helped me through a number of things, and he's going to bring an exercise for people after the meeting or during the meeting after service. So I want to invite everybody to listen to that live, because you're only going to get it if you're there live.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. See you in a little bit. All right. How was that? We have a few announcements real quick. Our community care circle is still active. You can give them a call. You can see the number up here if you just like somebody to talk to. Our practitioners are ready, available, and willing and wishing to pray with you and for you. So that you can reach on that link that you can see up here. Our Zoom conversation, as we just mentioned, will be at the top of the hour. Please come in and join us. We always get some pretty lively conversation in that deal. The book club, new book starts on February 2nd. You get that information from our newsletter and on our website. The next in-person meeting will be on February 11th. We had a great one yesterday. I hope you were there. If not, be sure and try to make the next one on the 11th. And we're putting together what we call the Joy Singers. We're getting some singers together, and we're going to go out and do a couple songs and share with the community. So if you'd like to sing along, come give Marina an email, and she'll get you signed up on the list. We thank you in advance for your contributions and sharing in our prosperity. You can see the many ways that can be done. PayPal, snail mail. I don't know if the post office likes that term, but you can give via Zelle, or get that code up there and it will lead you right to it. So thank you in advance for your participation in prosperity. As Reverend Joe just mentioned, Dr. Patrick Arbula will be our guest next week with a special exercise after the service. So this is a really special day. So mark your calendar. Be sure you be here on next Sunday, and we're going to have a really great time with Reverend Dr. Arbula. So we're all going to come back together now and do our closing affirmation. And we hope that you would just join right along with us as we say these words. Is that everybody? I think so. So I'll start this off. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it. I embrace it, and I share it.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming.
Thank you.
Life. Thank you all for joining us. We love you. We'll see you in a few minutes on Zoom. And don't forget, next week, special guest. Take some time aside for that one. Have a great week, y'all. We love you all very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.